So how did the whole autism run begin?
Okay, well, I have a little boy with autism, and April is Autism Awareness Month. So I decided that I would raise awareness. And so in 2009, I decided to have an Autism Awareness Run Walk. So, in essence, inviting the community and beyond to come and partake in what would be a walk or a run, depending on the person's capabilities. So, it was just really to raise awareness. And that's how it all started. In 2009, when we did our first run walk, we didn't collect any money. We just wanted to see if people would come out, if they would take the cause to heart. And they did. So then we decided going forward, we would form a formal committee, which is now SOS, which stands for Soutien Autisme Support. But what it all started off with is just my idea to have a run walk. And it started from that.
And how has it progressed over the years?
How's it progressed? Well, every year we get bigger and better. My motto is every year I ask my committee that we take it one step further. Sometimes it's just in small, subtle ways that people may not note, but we know that every year we're always striving to be better than we were the year before, whether it be to raise more money, whether it be to have more participants, whether it really be to make SOS on our programs more known. But every year we try to step it up a notch. In 2009 we were 225 participants, and this year we were about 1,500. So in a short while it's expanded very well.
So how much have you guys raised over the past few years?
Okay, well, right now we're in the midst of calculating for 2013. We've raised about $20,000 with the Autism Awareness Run. In November we had our first gala, so that raised actually the numbers escape me right now because since Boston I don't have a memory. I have to look things up. So we averaged on about $25,000 the last 2 years, but you have to understand in 2010 we raised $6,000. So okay. Right now I don't have the total amount for you. For us, what's truly important is that whatever we raise, that we have enough money to cover our programs and also to give the iPad. So every year, no matter what we make, it comes in, but we try to spend it right away to fund our programming, to have a good support staff, to have proper materials, and also to donate iPads. So it's not like we don't hold on to it. Whatever we make, we want to send out back and use it towards children or families living with autism.
And when you say programming, what do you mean?
We have different programs. We have music therapy. We have an art program. We have free play, which is we rent a gym 2 hours every Sunday morning, and we have gross motor materials for kids to go and just have a good time and run around and interact. We also rent a pool, so it's free swim every Saturday afternoon. We rent the pool exclusively for ourselves for an hour. So in order to get in, you have to have a child with an ASD, an autism spectrum disorder. And also we started this year for the first time a soccer program. So it's families who have children with an ASD who can't function in a normal soccer setting, that they come to our program and we show them how to kick the ball. They do different soccer drills and things like that. And we also, every year we give bursaries to local high schools, and they go towards a graduate student with an ASD. And we call it the Pay It Forward bursary because our run has so many student volunteers. So in order to honor their time and energy, we make a donation in honor of their volunteering, and that's the money we use for the bursary. So it's always whoever's helping us, we're helping back, and vice versa. So those are the programs we have right now.
That's perfect. And so about your family, how many kids do you have?
I have 2 children. I have my daughter is my oldest child. Manisha is soon to be 11. And I have Kian, who's 9.5, and he has an ASD.
How have you been coping with him having ASD?
Well, Kian's been diagnosed for a long time. He was diagnosed at 1.5 years. When the child first receives the diagnosis, those are the hardest years. Not knowing, because you don't know how far your child's going to go. I had prayed that my son would talk. I had prayed that my son would go to a regular school, because some do. It's a spectrum disorder. Unfortunately for me, both things did not happen. So families always have to readjust their expectations. So now we know exactly what we're dealing with. So we've kind of settled into our routine and what to expect. And we always have our plan B in place. Example, if we want to go to the zoo, well, not a normal family just packs up and goes to the zoo. We always have to have a plan B in case it doesn't work. Then what's our exit strategy, so to speak. So we've learned as a family to cope with the autism. It doesn't make it easy. There's certain situations where it's actually very difficult, but overall, we have a great family support. We have babysitters. Because we created SOS in the programs, now my son has somewhere to go. If SOS didn't have the programs, my son would not have a life. He would go to school and that's it. He would not have anything else. So we've actually really been able to, and with that being said, those who come to SOS, to our programs, we make friends and we make ties. So we connect with families who live the same reality as us. So it's actually quite comforting for us as parents, for Manisha as a sister, and for Kian, well, he has other things to look forward to. So it's multi-layered in that respect.
And do you have any advice for mothers when they find out if their kids have any form of autism? Do you have any advice you could give?
The thing I would say to parents is just take it as it comes. It's almost like the mourning process, and it's almost like a death in the sense that you go through the same steps, which is I don't know the exact order. You can look it up. It's like denial, anger, grief. There's 5 steps to the grieving process. So it's kind of like that. But as a parent, is to just be patient with yourself and accept your feelings for what they are, and that eventually you'll find your way. It might not be easy. There's a lot of things that we have to accept that parents to normal children don't have to deal with. But at the same time, there's beauty in everything. So my son taught me the importance of simplicity. That life is it's not the complicated things that matter. It's the small things: a smile, a hug, a laugh, pure joy. It's not in big things. Going on a bike ride. Waiting for the ice cream store to open up and having the first ice cream of the year. So having a child with special needs brings you way back to the fundamentals of life. And also, in some respects, it clears out the noise. Some people are so saddened that they lose friends or even maybe family members, but at the end of the day, they weren't meant to be in your life in the first place. So to just open oneself up to what life will be bringing rather than always fight against it. Fight for your child, but don't fight against the world, because you don't need to. So that would probably be my biggest advice. The other thing I would say is find something that's totally your own, if possible, exercise, because I found running because of Kian, and I was able to stabilize my mood, the stress, hormones, just everything, and that in turn made me the best mom I could be. And so just to have that, if possible, those moments. Some people like to read, so to just stay, to continue reading. Some people like to bake, but just to try to find an outlet, even if it's as little as a half an hour a week. It's really important to just kind of check out and be on our own,
That's very good advice. And also, have you had any role models through this process when you said you were not in denial, but you said you were trying to figure everything out? Did you have people giving you different forms of advice that have really stayed?
The best advice always comes from people who walk in the same shoes. Someone who doesn't know what it's like to have a special needs child, their advice is falls on deaf ears. But I do have a cousin who adopted a special needs child, and also her daughter had special needs, but in a physical sense. So, she taught me a lot. She was my role model, and her big thing was you gotta laugh. You can't take it all seriously. You have to find the beauty, and you have to find the moments to laugh. So if ever I'm really frustrated, or I just need someone who gets it, I'll call her. But now, like I said, because of SOS, I have I've made connections with other families or women who know exactly what I live through. So once in a while, we'll just chat. But basically, I'm blessed because they say, what's the divorce rate? I don't know, 70-80%. But when you have a special needs child, it's 90%. So the fact that my husband and I are still together after what has now been 8 years, post-diagnosis, I think is a really good testament to that. You have to be compassionate towards one another and be patient. And I think that's really helped us, is that we're still together as a family. So I would, he is my biggest support and vice versa. So
that's very good. And also, you had mentioned you had done the Boston Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a little scoop
on
the
Boston Marathon?
Yeah.
Okay, what happened at the Boston Marathon? Okay, well, the Boston Marathon is the oldest marathon in North America. It's one of the most, if not the most prestigious marathon in the world, because it's the oldest. It's been run consecutively. This year was the 117th running of the Boston Marathon. And in order to go to Boston, you have to qualify. So it means if you fall in a certain age and a certain sex, you have a qualifying time. So you have to run a marathon prior to get a time so that you have entry into the Boston Marathon. So I had ran on my third try. It took me 3 marathons to get to Boston. So on my third marathon, I qualified for Boston. So I went to Boston and I trained for it all winter. And I went and I told my whole family and my friends who came to support me, I said, the Boston Marathon is my celebration. It's my parade. I'm going to do whatever I want. There's little traditions in Boston, and one of them is there's a college, it's called Wellesley, and there's girls there, and they kiss the marathoners. So I said, as a joke, I'm going to kiss the Wellesley girls, but I didn't want to shock them, so I kissed 2 boys instead. But all that to say, it was my parade. It was to have a good time, and when I saw my family at 25-kilometer marker and my friends, I was having problems breathing because of a tank top I wore, because they have elastics underneath. So I took it off and I said, because I wasn't running for time, for speed, I was just trying to have a good time. I kissed every one of them. And,
Aww, okay.
And I told them I loved them. And I continued on. Oh my God. Sorry, I haven't cried yet, so I guess it's coming out now. And so with that being said, it was such a glorious day. It was actually beautiful like it is outside, and perfect. And I was tired. And I was, when you do things, especially as an athlete, and anything in life actually, it works really well, is visualization. You visualize that moment. Just like I visualized running my first marathon and how I'd feel when I crossed the finish line and crying and everything. So I'd looked at videos on YouTube. What does the finish line of the Boston Marathon look like? And the day before, my sister did a 5K race there. We went to watch and we sat in the grandstands. And I was like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be crossing this finish line. So I was really excited. So a marathon's 42.2 kilometers. And I had passed the 40K marker and I had 2.2 kilometers left. And I just thought, this is it. And I took off my music and I wrapped it around so I could hear the crowds and hear the people screaming and just take it all in after hours of running. This was it. This was my final moment, what I've been dreaming of for years. And then I hit the 26-mile marker. So that's the 42 kilometer marker. So it's a matter of yards, a matter of meters now. And there's 2 chutes, so you can either go stay to your left or stay to your right. And I consciously said to myself, in my head, I was already going, okay, I'm going to stay to the right. And I can't wait. I'm going to put my arms up in the air. It's going to be like the happiest moment. And I'm visualizing it's right there in front of me. And as I'm visualizing, what I think is a cannon goes off too. But the brain works really quickly in emergency situations. And when I realized, I said, it's kind of weird that cannons would go off around the 4-hour, 10-minute mark. Then the cloud of smoke got bigger and I had 2 army people running beside me, a male and a female, and they flinched. And and my brain registered. My brain knew it wasn't right, and I knew it was a bomb. And then I said to them, that wasn't right. And they said, no, it wasn't. And when they said that, I was right at the intersection of the street. So instead of running towards the finish line, I turned right, and then the second bomb went off, and I can feel the force of the second bomb just come like a wave over my body. But I knew not to look back. I just kept running. And then after that, it was just to get to my family. It was just to pray to God that there wasn't more, that I wasn't going to die, and that all I knew is that I had to get to my family and we had to get out, because you don't know. That's the whole thing. You don't know. So I had ducked into a building just quickly because I wanted to make sure there wasn't any debris flying around. And when I made sure there was nothing falling from the sky, that I wouldn't get hit with anything, then I came back out and I started continue to run in the direction I thought my family was in. And I'd ask people sporadically, where's the family waiting area? Where's the family waiting area? Where's the family waiting area? And I finally got to them, and they were all standing there somewhat oblivious. There was only 4 out of the 14 that heard something, but they thought it's Patriots Day. So them too, they thought it was cannons. And then when I got to them, they had started hearing people whispering and hearing, cell phones go off and the word bomb. But when I got to them, I confirmed it. I said, I did not complete the Boston Marathon. Bombs have gone off. We have to get out of here. And then after that, it was just a matter of, because we were a group, is to just have a strategy. And we had to separate. Unfortunately, they were coming back to Montreal, and me, my husband, and my daughter had to stay in Boston. So that was it. And ever since then, I had come home and I had to just go on autopilot because I had all these interviews, and then after that I had the autism awareness run. So I think right now, slowly my body and my brain are just trying to process everything and just let it be what it's going to be, and hence the tears, because although I lived it, I don't think I've really allowed myself to just feel it and go through it, and so I'm still kind of in the process, so that's why. So yeah, it was it's hard because when there's very few people that know what you're going through, that's the best thing in life. I share my stories, so everything I've gone through, I've been able to share, and I think this might be one of the hardest things I'll go through, because I have nobody to share it with. Nobody understands what it feels like to feel a bomb, the force of a bomb overcome your body and things like that. And I think that for me is the hardest part. And the hardest part of everything, and death or sadness or everything, is like, it just seems like those around you can just go on, and you're stuck behind having to process and live those feelings. So I think that's true in anything you live in. Miscarriage, for example, well, tens of thousands of women have a miscarriage a year. It doesn't make it less painful. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? An example, mm-hmm. or